and good evening. Welcome to Branco Broadcast. We have a special guest this evening. Our original guest was unable to make it, but our special guest was happy to fill in. Let's welcome Miss Marcie Siegelman of West Roxbury, Massachusetts, to talk about her perceptions of society and how we as blind people or people otherwise disabled are looked upon. Marcie, welcome.
Good evening, Bob. I was talking with Bob the other day about how we as a society are left out. And I was traveling the other day and I was not lost, but I needed help. And here I am standing with my cane and I'm at the corner and half a dozen people walked by. So finally I found a school monitor and I asked her for some help, and this person had no idea how to handle a person that is visually impaired with a white cane. So I asked her where I was, how far away was I from the mark of where I wanted to go. And my biggest beef is I have a cane, yes, I have some sight, but why are you pointing that way? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm at an intersection with 5 different streets, an offset intersection which we all hate. So I asked her for some guidance, and I asked her if she could cross me. And she says, oh, no, I'm here for the children. So
I was gone for a little while, but because I got a phone call. But anyway, did our speaker come yet?
I'm the speaker.
Okay.
So Bob's having me speak.
Oh, yeah, we were going to have you speak, but we couldn't get you. Were you muted?
Say that again?
They had suggested that you speak, but everybody was calling your name, but we didn't know where you were.
Oh,
okay, we are being recorded. Go ahead, Marcie. Continue with your story.
Okay, so I finally decided to walk up the street because I was too chicken to cross because I couldn't tell where the cars were coming from because it was bright, and there was no traffic light in Brookline. So I finally went up to the police officer and he says, can I help you? And I told him my situation, and he goes, oh, again, they're pointing. So he says, oh, excuse me, I didn't see the cane. So he told me that I was 6.5 blocks away. I overran the mark. So he says, I'll be more than happy to walk you back. And he walked me back. So I was like 15 minutes late for the appointment. And then I had to go back. I had my appointment. Then I get back on the train, and I ask if I'm at the right train. Again, I got the cane out, and the guy says, can't you read the sign? And I said, what's wrong with you people? I have a cane in front of me. So finally the conductor stops the train. She gets out and she helps me, and I tell her where I'm going. And she gets to the destination where I'm going. And she says, do you know where you're going? I said, no. So she said, okay. She calls ahead and she tells people that I'm coming. No one answered her. She gets to my destination, and she says to everybody, I need to take this young lady off the train, and I will be back in a few minutes because I'm going to take her to the stairs and tell her how to get to where she's going. So I said to her, you have made my day because you went through all the steps that somebody should go. I took her name, I took her number, and I called the T and recommended an award for her. So that was one day. and I decided that I was going to try to hook up with my senator and my counselor in West Roxbury because we are not getting enough help. I've found 15 blind people in West Roxbury that have moved here within the last 2 years. And that is because all the different places there were 4 group homes that had to close their doors because of money. So they opened 3 places here in West Roxbury, and 2 handicap elderly projects have opened. So now there is 7 more people in those buildings. So I've come to the point where if we don't help each other, we're just gonna get hurt with the buses. So I have gone to Matt Malley, who's our representative in West Roxbury, Rosendale, and High Park. And I've asked him to help me form a way to get more awareness out on the streets because someone's going to get hit. So my thing between me traveling and trying to get better and not finding dead bodies with my cane, because that's how I happen to find that one, is trying to re-educate my neighborhood. And I'm hoping with all of us that you could give me some ideas to bring to my representatives. So does anyone have any ideas?
I have a question, Marcie. The neighbor that you've described to us several times, the one that gets on your case all the time, she's a classic example of what needs to be dealt with as far as attitude is concerned. Not her personally, of course. Her attitude about you personally because of your blindness. If you want to fill us in about one situation that she had with you one time.
Sure. This woman moved in 7.5 years ago, and she claimed to be private, but not very private, and the backyard, my backyard and her backyard butt. So to give you an idea of what it looks like, if you were at, when we all went to Perkins, we had rec rooms on either end, and then we had the land on the other side of the walk, where on the Howe buildings. So where the rec room is that lady's land and her house all together. So the rec room plus the square land in front of it where the tree was. And then I have all this land on the other side of the walk that goes out to where the infirmary is, okay? So she did not like me going to the fence and taking things down. Now, I own all the fences, and she claimed she owned it, and she saw me walking with a cane one day, and she said when the policeman came, she said, oh, she's pretending to be blind because she gardens and she does everything. And then when she goes on the outside of her house, she walks with a cane. So I'm faking my blindness. So the police officer came to the house and said that this lady's complaining that you're spying, but then you have a cane. I'm pretending to be blind. So I said to the police officer, yes, I am legally blind. They don't just hand out a cane, and they don't give a placket. And I showed him on the wall my award from the Carroll Center, and I pulled out my diploma from Hawkins. And I said, this woman wants me to prove to her that I'm blind. And the cop said to me, you don't have to do that. So for a year we went back and forth, and she slapped an harassment suit on me. So I couldn't go into my own backyard, because that's how close the properties are. So I took her to court, and the judge looked at me, and I brought my friend Lisa with me as a witness. He asked me, how much can I see? I told him how much of the face I could see. And he looked at my lawyer, and he looked at everybody else. He rolled his eyes. I didn't see this because I was too close. And I won the court case. He threw it out. And ever since, she's been giving me a hassle of doing things. So if I go in the yard and she's out in the yard, she'd slam her door. So I just ignored her, and she put up a fence, and now she stares at me. So that's what it's like being legally blind in a sighted world in West Roxbury. So
I don't think it's only West Roxbury, as we all know.
No.
That's just
but I'm just saying.
Of what happens. Tricky business.
Yeah, it's tricky business. But I want to make people aware of what goes on with people that are either totally blind, or like myself, or somebody that's like losing their sight. Because I do have a neighbor up the street that has diabetes, and she's losing her sight. And it doesn't function. You know, when people travel, I mean, I see this, I don't know how she's going to do it. I can't think of how she's going to do it because, you know, she's in her 70s, maybe 75. She's losing her sight, and she has a mobility instructor coming out working with her. And I don't know, somebody else trying to teach her Braille. But she, I don't think, is going to be able to read Braille because of her fingers. But,
well, do you know if she has neuropathy?
Oh, yes, she does.
Something that you're thinking that might be going on.
Yeah, because everything we do, you know, I try to help myself just like everybody else, but it seems like, oh, blind girl is sighted. Well, yeah, I have some sight. You don't have to be totally blind to be legally blind.
I think that's what people have problems is because I wear glasses, so people, even though I have my cane, people like, can you, and they point like you said. And
that's just it.
So
I have glasses,
fight, you know, yeah,
and I carry the cane.
Yeah.
But like I was talking with Matt O'Malley, who's our rep, he said he agrees. He says he's seen too much since he's done this, and he's trying to figure out a way to help all of us, but he hasn't. Every time he opens a door, it's only a crack, and he's trying to get people.
What do you want him to do, Marcie?
Hmm?
What do you want people to do?
Well, I want to help the people in the neighborhood that can't see because there's not enough awareness.
I don't know how Roxbury is set up, but I know here in Burlington, we have 7 wards within the city of Burlington. Each ward has its own neighborhood advisory committee that advises the police and neighbors, and they look out for one another. Police are assigned to that area. Each of your aldermen, your city council are there, and they work very closely with these groups. You can get on the agenda before the city council. You can have your representatives from your individual neighborhood present these things. You're given agenda time where you can go before, where news media, everything covers the council meetings. There are
we went to the group.
You've got to take. You've got to be on the agenda. You've got to work closely with your neighborhood organizations and your representatives, and it can be done. And you, as a blind person, need to also learn how to communicate better, because when you ask a question, where is such and such, if you know how to properly ask the question, it's a lot easier than having somebody respond, well, it's over there.
Yeah, I have worked with the Civic Association and Home Improvement, and they themselves have tried to get extra signs up and to change the walk lights so that one, that it will make a sound of some kind, and that the lights that change colors with the man, you can't see it because it's sunny and there's no square around it.
Have you gone before the traffic commission to get the lights changed?
Yes, I have. And they go, when the way they change them here, which is wrong, when they go to change the pole, when it dies out and they have to replace it, then they will replace the boxes. In other words, the pole itself has to die out, not the light.
I have to bring up a subject to a related topic, Marcie, because, you're talking about attitude and, people think that you aren't blind and whatnot. I'm going to relate 2 incidents. Number one, when I first went to Perkins back in the day, 1969, one of the first reputations that I had, even from some of the staff, was that I had a lot more sight than I was letting on. In the first place, why would I end up going to Perkins if I wanted to, to stay home? Why would I want to fake my blindness just to get away? No one wants to get away from their homes. They want to be at home. You go to Perkins because you have a condition called blindness. That's why you go. But some of the staff thought that I had a lot more sight than I was using. And that was a very stomach-turning reputation, to say the least. But also, I've heard cases where people walk around with guide dogs, and one reputation that one lady had was that, she had too much sight to have a guide dog. Well, maybe the school thought she had just enough sight to have one. Who's to say? I can't get inside people's brains and feel how much sight they have or don't have. So it's a tricky business.
So I feel that, we get a bad rap of what we're doing. Even though...
Talking about guide dogs, there are various schools. If you may have a problem, you may have some limited vision, but at certain times of the day you can't see well enough to properly get around. So your dog is an aid at that point. The school also, during training, puts recruiters on your eyes so that you learn to depend upon the dog and not on your limited vision while you're training. So that in various situations you can handle it. The school would never give a dog to anyone that doesn't really need it.
Of course not.
Marcie, I have a question about you when you travel. What's the general attitude like when you're on the MBTA and you're trying to maneuver from point to point? Are you being respected there?
It depends on what line you're on, Bob, or if you're on the bus from home to. I'm at the end of the line, okay? So when I get the bus going into downtown Boston, which is Forest Hills, there's a seat. If I'm going home, it's everybody's fair game to fight for a seat.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave.
Sure.
Anyway, take care, everyone.
Okay,
Joni.
Would it be beneficial for you, Marcie, if you requested additional orientation and mobility to learn the routes that you need to go and have one of the parapathology or orientation and mobility people from Boston College or Boston University work with you to show you those?
I think my mobility is pretty good.
To work at the time that the light it doesn't benefit what vision you have?
Well, I did that once with one of the instructors, and she said, she worked with me for about three weeks, different light times, dark, twilight, highlight, and she said that I travel well. The things I don't see well is I have problems with depth perception at times.
Yes, because I heard you mention earlier that you have problems crossing streets and listening to traffic to know how cars are coming in at various angles. That would be appropriate for these parapathology students to work with you to help your skills improve in those areas.
You're right, Alan, because I've been doing that with my mobility. I've actually been crossing streets occluded because I can't rely on my vision, so it really builds your confidence, but that's your own decision.
Yeah, I mean, I called...
do, Marcie, is stand on a street corner with your orientation and mobility person and let them know when you think traffic is clear to go, but don't cross. Let them know when traffic is going, whether there's a right on red. Once you become so familiar by listening to traffic, you can do it, and then have them help you in the crossing and to determine whether it is a through intersection, a T intersection, or streets coming in at various angles, or whether those intersections are also computer generated. Because many times if there's no traffic coming from another angle and you could be out in the middle of the street, the way the computer works is that they can allow traffic to flow and you could be hung out in the middle of the street to dry.
Marcie, this is Lauren, and I'm going to have to go. I want to say thank you very much for filling in tonight, and also you can never get more training. It can't hurt to do that.
Oh, no.
So, so I'm going to say good night to everybody, and everybody have a good week.
You too.
Okay.
Yeah, good night.
No, I asked Cynthia Guys, who was the instructor, and she said that it takes practice.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't really need someone to work with.
Oh, yes, you do. Until you become so familiar with traffic flows and patterns, and you can, and with your eyes occluded, be able to determine whether when traffic is stopping and going, whether there's right on red, whatever is taking place.
That's
probably one of the best things you can do is just listening to traffic on a busy intersection.
That's one thing I hate is the right on red with the cars.
But you know what,
But
Marcie?
yes, but as you become more and more familiar with it, you can actually hear cars slowing down to do the right on red because they don't come to a complete stop. And you can become so familiar with your mobility, and that's what you want Boston College and Boston University to work with you. And many of those students are already on a work-study program or have scholarship money that pays for it, and they can work with professors so that you get the professors plus the students to work with you, and it really can be beneficial.
I'll agree.
All right, that sounds good. I'll look at that.
I was just going to say that because I used to be the right on red would drive me crazy, but today I'm walking and listening, and it's like I know he's going to turn right, or whoever it is going to turn right. So you get that confidence, build it up, and practice. But yeah, those big intersections in Boston are really daunting. But it's just going to take,
Also, if you know where you are in relationship to things, because certain streets are one way, some streets are two way, some streets are light directed. But as you're going, you know that there are bushes on your right. There may be a wire fence on your left on another corner. Just by knowing the area and by walking it enough, you will know sidewalks, so it'll be a little more difficult to become disoriented because just by walking and familiarizing yourself with the neighborhood over and over and over again, it'll become second nature to you.
That's right.
True.
I've lived it, so I mean, you always get better and better, and you don't want to take risks, but you kind of have to put yourself out there and step it up, but one thing at a time. And
even when students come home from the C&I with a new C&I dog, I take them under wing and I walk them around Burlington. I first start them into their own neighborhood. I show them their streets, work them into the semi-business and then the business, working them down the marketplace, showing them where to catch the buses here in the area. Even though they may know it, by using a dog in an area where they're not really familiar, it's beneficial because their dog builds up confidence working with a dog such as mine that has travel maturity. And I would walk with you. If I lived closer to you, I would be a matter of fact, I would consider it an honor to walk with you and show you the streets and use my expertise of crossing streets and listening to traffic to help you out.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Karen, Dawn, anybody?
I was just going to say, Marcie, I find tea very helpful when I go into Boston if I'm going to an unfamiliar place, such as South Station, which is confusing for anybody who doesn't go there often. They will call.
Oh yeah, it is confusing because
and the tea has come a long way that way.
You
had to know exactly. If you were going somewhere, you just had to know it. But now you can get some assistance.
Yeah,
we also have a neighborhood community on computer People went door to door and got people's email addresses, putting them in, so we can get on there. And if we need anything like a babysitter, we need a ride to the doctors, we need help orienting ourselves to new streets, you just put your needs out there, and you'll be surprised. Your neighbors will come running. But it's a matter of organizing your neighborhood.
Yeah, my neighborhood, I think every 6 months the people change.
People move out?
Move out, move in.
Yeah.
So my next door neighbor and I are the oldest ones here. I mean, I have a guy across the street, but
Many of your schools, in order to graduate, or even in the middle school, the 12 to 14, they have to put so many hours of community service in order to complete a school year or do things. So working with the schools may be an issue, a way for you too, to orient you to your neighborhood.
Mhm. Yeah, my neighborhood's pretty much, it's pretty much the same except for the people and all the digging and knocking down buildings and stuff.
Do you have an RSVP or an area agency on aging? I mean, yeah, you're only 59, 60 years old. Not really an old fart like me yet, but those organizations will also help you.
Yeah,
this is just an observation.
Sure.
In general, but the public is more informed of blindness versus years ago, but there's still a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah, there are. I think the Aid for the Blind has left West Roxbury. I feel that things have gone backwards.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah.
I think it depends on the situation, because, like, if I say, where am I, or where is the supermarket, even with my cane, they're going to point. But if I say, I'm really legally blind, or sometimes I'll just say, I really have really tough time seeing, I can't see very well, and can you help me? And then they notice the cane, and I'm not saying that always happens, but I found it generally. I say, hey, I'm blind, and, I get most of the time.
This is one of the reasons why I'm so glad that we still honor White Cane Awareness Month here in Massachusetts in the month of October. No matter what governor we have, we honor that. And I think that'll always be important. There's always going to be people who don't know the laws for white cane, especially when you're behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
You cannot get a driver's license here without answering at least a half a dozen questions around white canes here in Vermont.
Mhm.
Bob, is Massachusetts the only state that has White Cane Day?
I think it's national. It's national.
Oh, no, it's national, because I looked it up.
All over the world.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
As far as I know.
I didn't know that.
No, it's national. I actually looked that up myself.
Okay.
National?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have an issue that I don't have, though, Marcie. You're a woman, and for a woman to go out at certain times of the day in an area that could be considered a difficult or rough area, you could be harassed, or you could ask a direction, and somebody could give you the wrong direction just to think, well, like, hey, here's an easy mark. We could rape this woman.
Yeah.
It's an issue that you need to be able to address and speak to the police about in your neighborhood.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty safe in West Roxbury, especially my street, because it's all cops, firemen, and lawyers.
Oh.
So as far as as far as that part of safety, I'm pretty lucky. And the police and the fire station's right around the corner.
You don't have to go.
Because I know in some cities and some states, young women using a cane, especially if they are very attractive young women, and they think that you're lost and you don't have a direction, it's better to know where you are, walk with authorities, stay in lit areas, and where there's a greater number.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there are a lot of kooks that will try and get you to go down an alleyway or something that they could very easily try and take advantage of a woman.
The police officer that walks the beat in my neighborhood at night, when I come home, around 8 o'clock or something off the bus.
Do you carry a cell with you?
I carry a cell phone with me, and I actually carry a stick with me. My brother gave me the stick to hit somebody with.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But my next door neighbor is an ex-Marine, so he actually took my cane and showed me how, if I fold it a couple of times over, when I'm if I'm sitting at the on the bus or something, how to use it to send myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And don't forget, I grew up in a Marine family, so I am a pretty good fighter. I learned how to,
Do you have police programmed into your phone already?
I have police, fire. I have the police and the fire department already put into my phone. And then the next thing would be my brother's emergency. God forbid that I ended up in the hospital. So it's got the red letters for emergency to call him. God forbid I end up in the hospital.
Though, Marcie, talk to your commission counselor and see if they can't put some funding up for you to get more orientation and mobility from Boston College or University, and have those students work with you. And even call and talk to the professors in that department. Let them know what your needs are, and they will actually find the proper instructor to work with you.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good plan and a good project for me to work on.
Anybody else? Jeff, we haven't heard from you yet.
What do you think,
no, I haven't any comment, or I would have said something.
If I can help you in any way by making phone calls for you, Marcie, I'm happy to do that too.
Thank you.
Anything else before we conclude? Well, Marcie, thank you for filling in as a guest tonight. You were very informative, and I think we can all work together to get the job done, because many of us have similar issues, and
I think so.
More than others, obviously, but still, it's a good topic, and we thank you for talking about it tonight.
Thank you, and I enjoyed myself. Good evening.
You did a nice job, Marcie.
You did a great job, Marcie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good
Now
evening.
take a curtsy.